Dragon Ball Super is a bland show with even blander villains. But there's one villain that stands on the top of the steaming pile of dung that is the list of characters in this show. There's one villain that stands above all of them. And if you think that's Moro, you'd be wrong. Everything he does is super played out. He absorbs energy from planets and people. We've already seen this done with the Tree of Might, with the Big Getty Star. Even the androids Cell and Boo all had some form of absorption. Even his most hacks absorption technique, where he's passively absorbing the life from around you, making you weaker as you fight him. We already saw this kind of thing done with Hayes Shenron in Dragon Ball GT. So Moro's not bringing enough new to the table to be considered a top tier villain. Moro is trash as well. You would think that the best villain in Dragon Ball Super would then be Frieza, but you would also be wrong. Please tell me the last time Frieza truly felt menacing in Dragon Ball Super. Because having grown up on Dragon Ball Z, I remember when Frieza was truly savage, when he strangled Vegeta with his tail and beat the living daylights out of him. That was savage Frieza. Instead, what do we get in Dragon Ball Super? He's completely turned into a twirly mustache villain, where he's running away. Remember at the end of the Broly movie where he just blasts off again like he's a member of Team Rocket? Let's think back to how far he has fallen. Remember in Z, when Frieza was so dedicated to killing his enemies, it even cost him all his limbs. I know, and I admire that because I can relate. Anyway, Frieza has been turned into the butt of so many jokes, he's become a mid-tier character. He is not the top of the villain pool any longer. And while we're at it, let's also lump Frost in there because as far as I am concerned, he is just a player 2 version of Frieza. You would also think that the top villains would be the Heater Clan, but you would also be wrong because as far as I'm concerned, let's just be honest here about the Heaters. They're just a lazy, ghetto remix of the Bojack Gang, which were a far better execution of that kind of character. And now our roster of true villains in Dragon Ball Super is getting smaller and smaller because this show has so few characters to begin with. There's Copy Vegeta, but he's not top tier either. He is a missed opportunity to call back to the awesomeness that was Baby Vegeta. You might then think it's Cell Max, but I have to be honest with you. I have nothing good to say about Cell Max. I mean, look at the design. What the hell is this thing? He's just a random Frankenstein monster with no motivation, no dialogue, and if you look at his character design, why does his tail have a club on it? What purpose would that serve? He just looks like a retread of Hachiyak at this point. So he's out as well. And now we get to the only well-written, good villain in Dragon Ball Super, and that's Zamasu. Say what you want about his skin color, or his really sus haircut, but just look at this character. Zamasu is the only character with actual believable motivations in the entire series. He's the only villain with a plausible motivation. What is Zamasu's main motivation? He thinks that the Supreme Kais of the multiverse are lazy and don't do their jobs well and therefore don't deserve to live. To be honest with you, it's kind of hard to argue with that, especially when we've seen Universe 7's Supreme Kai be utterly worthless in pretty much everything that he's done. Now, yes, there are some flaws to Zamasu. He's not a perfect character. What with him being green, partially Saiyan, and time travel and being required to kill him, there are some serious parallels with Cell there, but don't let that stop you from enjoying how good of a character he is. Because at the end of the day, Zamasu gets things done. Let's look at his actual list of accomplishments. Because most villains in Dragon Ball Super, they monologue, they get killed, and we move on. But not Zamasu. Let's see what he's done. He actually became immortal. He recruited himself from another timeline. He killed all of the worthless Supreme Kais, and he even destroyed an entire universe. Name one villain in all of Dragon Ball. Z, GT, Super. Name one villain with a higher kill count with more accomplishment than Zamasu. I think you're going to struggle to find one. And speaking of him destroying a universe, His universal Zamasu form, or infinite Zamasu, or whatever you want to call it, was so powerful that it even spilled into the present timeline. So he was literally occupying more than one timeline at once. That is hyperdimensional. In fact, Zamasu's infinite Zamasu form is the most powerful hyperdimensional feat seen in all of Dragon Ball Super. Even Zeno, who's supposedly above him, needed to use the time machine. So, with all of that in mind, there's really not much to hate about Zamasu. Yes, he's ugly and narcissistic, but that's the point. He's a bad guy. You're supposed to have traits about him that you hate, so you're happy when he dies. But just think about it. Who was a more complex villain than him? Name one other villain in the show where you could kind of see how they have a point. Name one villain with a higher kill count. Name one character that has done it better. And that is why Zamasu stands at the top of the steaming pile of turd that is Dragon Ball Super. Let me know what you think in the comments below.